I was able to sell my kayak this morning. I don't know if it was my kayak. I never used it, so just kind of borrowed it from the maker for a couple months until it met its new owner. Guess I leased it. Um, you know, I have this saying that sometimes the bad ideas get to the front of the line, and when it comes to spending money and getting things, that's certainly the case. And so I bought this kayak for a reason. I love the water. I love being out on the water and fishing, especially. I like taking Lucy out on the water, and Lucy comes out on my canoe with me. Um, but there's this kayak made by the company called Bonafide, and it's this color. It's called steel. It's a blue color. It's got this brown kind of inlay, like it looks like a cork inlay. It's a stunning, gorgeous, gorgeous kayak. I mean, it looks so good, and so I just had to have it. I mean, how could you not have it? And so I bought it, and I bought it from a third party, and they sent me the wrong color. And it was perfect because not only did they send me the wrong color, they sent me just it's called I think they call it gunmetal, but it's just gray. It almost just like it's like the absence of color. It's just like a muted nothing. Um, and I wanted it for the specific color. That's why I wanted it because it was so beautiful. And I was I got it, and I was like, wow, this is it's like a black and white photo of what I really wanted, this stunning kayak. And I was so upset. And I was like, mate, look, you sent me the wrong kayak. And they're like, oh, well, look, we really want to make it right. So, look, send it back. We'll send you a new one. I was like, great. Yeah, I need my blue kayak. It's stunning. I need everyone to see me on a blue kayak. And they said, well, how about if instead of that we take like $150 off? I said, not a chance. Like, I mean, all told, it was not an inexpensive kayak. Uh, so I was like, no, 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 no. I need my blue kayak. It matches my eyes. It's going to be great. Lucy's going to love it. Now, I'm just thinking about how many people I see out on the water. It's none. Uh, so uh, the guy calls back. He goes, look, how about $450 off? I said, okay, you got me. Because in all honesty, it's like I think it's a $1,200 kayak or $1,100 kayak. Something like $450 off is significant for a color. I was like, I can't not do that. I said that makes sense. And so all this I say because it's I want to share about the ego, because my ego uh, wanted that kayak. Like, I'm one per. I live here with Lucy, who is a dog, and I don't think she's made a her presence known here. So you may just think that she's imaginary to me, but she's here, and like I can't operate two water vessels at one time. I don't need two water vessels at one time. I have a canoe. I have a beautiful canoe. It's a Mad River canoe. It's old. I think it's like 17 feet. It's gorgeous. It's wood in seats, and Lucy can come out on it. But this color, this kayak, and the kayak, by the way, is like twice the price of this canoe. But I just had to have it, right? I can't afford it. That should be part of the story. I can't afford it, but I had to have it, so I got it. It's what I do. It's how I live. But my ego made the purchase because I didn't need it, but my ego did. And what's interesting about the ego, and I'm not talking about the Freudian psychodynamic ego with the id, the ego, and the superego. I'm talking about the ego as it relates to the Latin translation of I. It just means I. And so, you know, for the first several, I mean, almost 2 decades of my recovery, I thought, well, I don't have an ego because I think I'm nothing. I think I'm below everyone. So ego is not a problem. I'm good with that. Moving on. And boy, was I wrong about that, because what I mistook that for was what we think of egotism, arrogance, which is one side of that coin. But the other side of the coin, which is really just the same thing, ego, is thinking less of what I am, thinking that I don't measure up, because I'm still just thinking about me. It all comes back to me. It's all me at the center of the universe. That's the ego, right? The ego lives for this kind of outside confirmation and approval. Like, I'm okay if you tell me I'm okay. And if you tell me I'm not, I'm not. But I really misunderstood that for a large part of the first part of my recovery journey, because I thought, well, no, like, I've never felt okay. Like, I never felt good in my skin. I've always felt apart from, I've always felt less than. I've always put on this facade to try to fit in. So ego is definitely not an issue. But that's the ego. That is the ego. It's just a version of it that people don't talk about as much. But it's the same thing. So there's this version of again, thinking I'm better than I am, arrogance, what we think of egoism. But there's also this under, thinking I'm less than what I am, right? This I'm no good, I'm awful, I don't measure up, I need to put on this mask. It's also ego. It's the same thing. And that changed me when I learned that. Not for the good. Because once I learned the ego was my problem, I said, oh my goodness, this is great. And I went completely the other direction. And I said, oh, ego is my problem. And I went full bore the other direction and became just full of arrogance and egotism, and just really read my own press clippings. And boy, insufferable. Just a pendulum, right? Bob Earl used to say, the only way you find the middle is by hitting both walls. And boy, did I do that when it came to ego. So for the vast majority of my younger life, I was no good. I was nothing. I wasn't as good as. And then I hit this point, this odd point where I was like, oh, like you just don't even understand how good I am. Like you don't. Like, if you only knew how good I was, you'd be so impressed. And maybe you do know because you're not talking to me, which is evidence that you know how good I am. Or because you're talking to me, you're giving me the evidence that you know how good I am. Like, whatever you did for me was giving me what I needed. It's a crazy way to live. But it was ego. It was all ego. And I never knew how just all-encompassing my ego was, until it almost killed me. And I mean quite literally almost killed me. And Ryan Holiday has his book, The Ego is the Enemy. And my goodness, is it my enemy? I mean, my ego, it's an odd thing because my ego can't live without me, but it really wants me dead, as if it can live without me. So my ego is this part of me, right? This duality. Eckhart Tolle talks about the essence and the ego. This duality It's this part of me that sees the outer of others, this external, this nonsense skin. This is nothing, right? And I don't mean your life story is nothing. That's everything. But when we just look at this and base everything on this, it's so we miss it. We just miss it. Like I want to know you as a person and your life story and your history and your family. Like that's everything. But if I'm going to judge you on this 1/8 layer, what am I doing? It's just avoidance, right? It's a tactic. It's a cop-out. It's a generalization, a gross overgeneralization. Makes it easy for me, right? Makes it easy for me to live a way that I want to live, right? I get to live by my preconceived notions. I get to be hypersensitive, hypervigilant. I get to say, oh, look, I told you they'd do that. It's lazy. It's just lazy. But my ego wants to do that. My ego wants to criticize, judge, condemn. My ego wants to compare, wants to either put me one up or one below others. But there's this other part of me, and Eckhart Tolle says it so beautifully, there's this other part of me that sees that part of me, and that's me. That's the essence. There's the part of me that sees that I'm doing that. And the way he came about it is beautiful and profoundly sad. He was sitting at a park bench grieving, and he was sitting there saying, I hate myself, or something to that effect. I hate myself. Something like that. And he was like, well, wait a minute. Is there an I in myself? And who are these two people? But to me, there absolutely is. And my ego has, it's tanked my career. It ruined my marriage. It lost me my best friend that I was married to. It hurt my best friend in the whole world by just being nonsensical. My ego has hurt others just to make you not look at me. My ego's been a bully. Just again to set these little fires over here saying, please don't look at me because I'm in so much pain, I'm in so much fear, that if you knew that you know it's Oz pulling back the curtain. My ego has run my life in more ways than I care to admit, but I have to admit, or else it will continue to do so. Now, typically, I have this idea that awareness does not equal change, and insight does not equal change. And insight and awareness can be quite useless without then some daily action to follow up. The ego has a little twist to it because it's like a magic trick. Like magic is kind of special until you learn how it's done. And then you're like, that's dumb. Well, it's an illusion. It's a trick. So the ego's the same. The ego is very clever, but it's not intelligent. So it'll trick you all day long, but once you see it, once you look at it, once you see what it's doing, it loses its power. And you just have to look at it. You just have to witness it. You just have to observe it. You don't want to fight it. You don't want to try to knock it down, because now we get tangled up in that being the ego. You don't certainly want to say how good you are at getting over your ego. Therein lies the ego. But I do believe, and I'll come back to this often, and certainly for me it's been true, that we have an essence, we have this this true north, we have these core values, these core beliefs, we have this still small voice. And that is the part of us that recognizes this other part of us that maybe isn't doing what's best for me. And in this case, that's my ego. It's making purchases I don't need. It's getting me into relationships I don't need. It's destroying relationships I do need. It's making me think I'm more than I am, or making me think I'm less than I am. And perhaps, there's this whole world, this wonderful, beautiful, perfect world, and I'm just this little piece over here. And that's got nothing to do with me. Nothing. It's just Lucy and I over here. She's looking at Paul. It's just me and Lucy. Right? In our little world over here. Rather than me at the center and everything that's happening is about me. What an exhausting way to live. And boy, did I do that for so long. Everything was about me. Everything. My goodness. What ego. So, if you have an opportunity to just listen to the still small voice, to go back to the true north, to the core beliefs, read some Ryan Holiday, read some Stoicism. There's such good stuff there, and it's so powerful. And if you relate to this, I'm telling you, you don't have to live that way, and don't let it hurt you or other people the way I did, because it's really, really difficult to get over. You can get over it if you have. That's true, you can. But you don't have to keep doing it. So probably talk more about the ego, because it's a big deal for me. So hopefully that helps someone. Thanks.